So I'm sitting there going through Twitter, right? Astro Cyborg makes a clip. The clip is Reforge Gaming talking about, it was responding to a comment about 30 FPS and 60 FPS and such. And then he says something. And I go, really? He still holds this belief? Because it's one thing to believe something. It's another thing to basically see evidence that maybe puts into question what it is that you believe. And then it's another thing for you to at least say, you know what? Perhaps there is some level in terms of the benefit of the doubt that, or at least reasonable doubt has not necessarily been, met, that particular burden. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. Astro Cyborg, shout out to you for clipping this. This is about, I think, probably some conversation about 30 FPS, 60 FPS. I'll play this clip for you and I'll show you something very interesting, very sinister.
30 FPS has been proven to not affect purchase. Can you cite a report that proves that? I've never seen anybody cite a report or a data point that proves 30 FPS has been proven to not affect purchase.
Okay, that's a fair claim. There's no report or evidence. However, when we look at anecdotal, conversations, or we look at some games, gamers could not be bothered about 27 FPS in Zelda Breath of the Wild and 27 FPS in Tears of the Kingdom. People don't really bother about that stuff when they really want to go play the game. They'll complain. They'll say, there's some frame drops here, but they'll play the game.
If it doesn't affect purchase, then why did Phil Spencer apologize for Redfall?
It's coming.
Why do they patch 60 FPS into Redfall and Starfield and
It's coming.
Plague Tale Requiem? Why did Gotham Knights try to hide the fact that their game wasn't going to have a 60 FPS mode?
Oh, this dude. He came back with that, why did Gotham Knights blah, blah, blah stuff. And I said to myself, here we go again. Now, the reason this comes up is because, again, when you mention Gotham Knights, the Gotham Knights boogeyman pops out. Yes, I am that guy. I got to tell you, though, this was where I had my first experience with Reforge. It's a history lesson more than anything. You guys probably didn't see that, right? Let me show you what happened afterwards. This was 2 years ago, right? I went ahead and I said, interesting, when some leaker leaked this thing that, Gotham Knights at 30 FPS. It was a review person on Reddit or so. And people went into the Discord and were barraging the developers with questions. And the developers, the community managers, foolishly, in my opinion, started to delete questions about 30 FPS. What was crazy is they had a knee-jerk reaction to this thing because previously, we already knew, those of us who were paying attention already knew that Gotham Knights was going to be a 30 FPS game. Do you know how we knew? Let me show you how we knew. They invited a bunch of people to come out to their studio, Warner Brothers Montreal, to play the game. PlayStation Access was one of them. They made a video about it, and in their video, which was before this so-called leaker out of Reddit said anything, they talked about the game being at 30 FPS. I'll play the clip for you right here so that you can hear it yourself, because it really shocked me when I found out, because everybody was saying the developers are hiding something. So I was like, the developers are crazy. What's going on here? But it clicked. I said, wait, hold on. I watched almost everybody's coverage that played the game early, and here's what they said.
For a reason, for an effect, to make it look as inviting or cool or spooky or scary or whatever they're trying to achieve as possible. And I think that really comes through. It's just beautiful and inviting. And it looks amazing in technical speak, 4K 30, which...
that's what we played it in.
That's what we played it in. That's what you'll be playing on PS5 with glorious ray tracing.
Oh my...
Did you hear that? In technical speak. I'll play it again for you. I'll play it again for you so that you can hear it yourself.
Amazing in technical speak, 4K 30, which...
that's what we played it in.
That's what we played it in. That's what you'll be playing on PS5 with glorious ray tracing.
Oh my God, the ray tracing was so good.
We are talking about raindrop.
So I said, bruh, I made a thread. This was October of 2022. I said, was the Gotham Knights 30 FPS news actually a leak? The internet can sometimes be over the top, but this was an example of quick to speak and slow to listen. It's much more sensational to say something was leaked rather than we missed it. This was known a number of days ago. It was, because we have the date and the timestamp of when the video had come out at the time compared to when the so-called leaker came out to leak that it was 30 FPS from their review. And I said, this is weird. I personally did not report this until after almost a week. At least we knew about the PS5 performance right there. It's safe to say that most people have been quite unkind with how they've bashed the development and the creative team. For those saying they were trying to hide it until a leaker revealed it, I think your argument is burnt toast. Apparently, the folks at PlayStation Access were diligent enough to discuss performance in their preview. Finally, the gaming journals that covered this as some kind of a leak, I wonder why you didn't ask the performance question when you got the preview access. If you did ask, did you get a response? Were you blown off? Now that the dust is settled, reason will prevail. Do you know what this Reforged dude said to me? This guy said this take is embarrassingly bankrupt. This dude right here told me that me going out to find the information that made the leak basically sensation. I mean, it was already there. In fact, I think I'd made a video about it just in passing saying, oh, they said 4K 30. Didn't even pay attention to it. This guy had the audacity to tell me that my take was bankrupt. I mean, the gall on this dude, bro. And then he said the video clip does not establish that PS5 will be 4K 30 only. Ladies and gentlemen, can we listen to the clip again? Let's go for it.
Amazing in technical speak, 4K 30, which
that's what we played it in.
That's what we played it in. That's what you'll be playing on PS5.
The clip did not say that. Then he said it mentions it in passing from a non-official channel. Guys, I have never known PlayStation Access to be a non-official channel. Is it? Because these guys got the exact same access as everybody who went there to Warner Brothers Montreal, or maybe those who played via Parsec or some streaming whatever, and they all got access to the game in different methodologies and through different formats. Some played PC, some played console, but I watched almost everything I could get my hands on, and these were the only guys who said it. If they were told to actually not mention this, like they did with the Marvel Spider-Man 2 bugs to their own reviewers, then we had a whole different conversation. We have a whole different issues. We had different issues, but the developers, their knee-jerk reaction, start deleting comments, but then they came back around, right? They came back around and said, hey man, here's what's going on. We designed our game this way. We chose that, because of the open world, the tethered open world and such, we've chosen that the game will be at 30 FPS. Now, I think the developers could have done a better job actually explaining some of the technicalities, but I think at least coming out to mention something before the game came out helped their case. But this PlayStation Access conversation, to me, I think the press was probably not careful enough. So what did the game director do, Flor Marti? She came out and said, I know many of you are wondering about the availability of performance mode on Gotham Knights on consoles. Marty wrote, due to the types of features we have in our game, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world, it's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher FPS. For this reason, our game does not have performance/quality toggle option and will run at 30 FPS on consoles. To their own credit, just a year later, Digital Foundry took an Xbox Series X kit where they pretty much found a device that pretty much was a defective Series X. They rigged it up, and that's what they did. They basically mass-produced these things for people to be able to use as gaming PCs. Added like some PCIe and maybe some ports and such. And so pretty much what it was is a Series X using its CPU or its APU, but its GPU was disabled, and you could connect the GPU to it, and you can connect the power input and pins and all that to your motherboard, and you can build a PC out of it. And what did they do? They took it for a test drive, and they ran Gotham Knights with it using the 7900 XTX so that they could unlock any GPU, any GPU bottlenecks so that they could test out what the CPU would probably play like. And keep in mind that this CPU also has even less limitations. So here's what Richard Ledbetter said about the game at this point in time.
The reason why it's capped to 30 frames per second on consoles. Here you can see a comparison of performance limited to 30 FPS with VSync active, just like the consoles, while the unlocked line there essentially runs with VSync off and lets the game run as fast as it can, hitting the CPU limit. The 7900 XTX is not in any way troubled by this game. What we're looking at here is all on the CPU. Low LODs are enabled here, just like the consoles, and yes, ray tracing is active too. And yeah, no real surprises here in any way, shape or form. Even if we were looking at, say, an extra 20% of performance, the right decision here would still be to lock this game to a more consistent 30 frames per second, which is pretty much what the Series X version manages in its post-optimization state.
So, you guys heard for yourselves. This particular situation has been resolved, but in his mind, it's not. Many of you don't really know that I did have this history with Reforge a few years ago. At the time, I was like, well, perhaps he just feels strongly about this. But over the years, this is not the kind of person to ever come out to say that they are wrong about something, or perhaps reasonable doubt is something that's out there. Data and evidence does not matter to this cat. This cat will basically scheme his way out of what the truth and the reality is. And so once he said Gotham Knights in this clip, I said, what? He brought that up? And so at the time, I think there was like a back and forth that went on at the time. I think it was on his Twitter page or something. And I wasn't really in the mood. I was just kind of like watching, kind of figuring out, like, nobody really knew that I could like really argue. Like I was kind of like gauging and wondering, like, okay, what is this really about? Like, are you a Batman fan? Like, what's going on? And so I kind of just I said my piece. I think I made a video about it. And then I just kind of, whatever. Right. But seeing everything come full circle now and seeing just how everyone has had this guy under scrutiny because of the things he said, to me, I just laugh. And I even forgot about this stuff, by the way. I forgot about it, which is weird. And then he just said it. I was like, whoa. Anyways, comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.